Hi everyone, I'm back and it's a really interesting time to do film reviews. I'm going to be doing a lot of film reviews over the next 3 weeks, 5 weeks leading up to the Oscars. So today I'm going to be talking about quite an influential film on this year's season, which will be 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. And this is the latest film by Martin McDonagh, who, if you don't know the name, you'll probably know his first film, In Bruges. He then made 7 Psychopaths, and now this film. So, as usual, I'm just going to give you, should you go see it, then we'll talk about the film a little bit more, and then there'll be a break for spoilers. So, this is a great time to be seeing films, and I love this because sometimes when I'm talking about comic book films and that, it's more about is it fun or whatever. But these films often have a little bit more meat on the bones apart from the technical part of the storytelling. So this is a really weird film, and I'm going to say people should go see it because it's a dark comedy, and a dark comedy is a really hard beast to pull off. And Martin McDonagh does make you laugh. There are great performances, outstanding performances which will win awards, I will say, by the end of the year. But he also talks about a couple of things, and that's what I want to talk about later because I'm not sure how well that works. So definitely go see it, and then let's talk about it after the break. Okay, so let's talk about this film. So firstly, I've already mentioned the director is Martin McDonagh, and he's made 3 films, but he's better known for being like a living genius in Ireland. He's one of their great playwrights. And the reason I'm mentioning that is, straight away, this film is not one of those showy directorial films which you might see from Christopher Nolan or Del Toro or someone like that. This is about the actors, about putting them in a position where there's conflict and understatement behind their words, and then letting it go, and almost like a play. And McDonagh films almost scene to scene, which is not surprising. And what a cast he's put together. He's got Frances McDormand in the lead role as the mother of a girl who was found in her town. She was raped and murdered, and it's implied that she probably was murdered and burned alive. So just straight away, you're just in a shocking emotional world, and the fact that he is able to wring comedy out of that setup is quite amazing. So no one is found for this murder, and she, at the beginning of the film, hires a guy to rent 3 billboards on this kind of unused road to ask specifically the police of that area what they've done about this murder. And from that, numerous things unleash. And the good thing is they feel quite organic, at least in the first 2 acts of the film. We'll talk about 3rd act in the spoilers. But you really do feel these are people, well-rounded people who have strengths and weaknesses and are just trying to live and get their job done, and whether it be taking care of the town or being, the mother of a family, whatever. So let's talk about the cast. I've mentioned Frances McDormand. Now, Frances McDormand will be in the running for probably Best Actress. She is fantastic. The only thing I will say is, if you've seen the TV show Olive Kitteridge, she basically plays almost the same role. Now, she plays it fantastic, but I do hope that this is the last time we see Frances McDormand playing this kind of angry, kind of older gentlewoman who kind of gets through everyone's radar because of her age, and maybe does something a little bit different. But I guess the problem is she's great at it. So don't take that as a criticism, but I'd like to, she can just do so much. I'd like to see her maybe try something else. Then you've got Woody Harrelson playing Woody Harrelson. He's good in the role. But really the person who steals the whole film is Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell plays a cop who is, from the first scenes, obviously dim-witted, obviously racist, and doesn't seem to even really know what kind of role he's performing as this kind of junior policeman. And into this cauldron of emotions is the Billboards, and then from that point everything kind of unravels fairly quickly. The acting is great across the board, the dialogue is great, you laugh a lot, and you really feel for all the people in this film. So on all those levels it really succeeds amazingly well. And I think it'll get a lot of awards, because I think for a dark comedy to succeed, really if you just get those laughs out of such an emotional position, you're kind of succeeding. But there are some things I do want to talk about in spoilers where I do think maybe the film, if you think about what happens in the film, there might be some issues. So let's come back and talk about that. Okay. This film is really about anger. Anger of a mother who has lost everything. And you can imagine the film goes through some of these things. A teenage daughter who has been raped, and how the mother feels about that injustice, but also about her relationship with the daughter, her relationship with the rest of her family. Then it flips to the other people in the town who either have anger from different reasons, such as Sam Rockwell playing Dixon. He's always angry about his role in life. He's always angry about people look down on him. They think he's stupid because he's obviously is dim-witted. And then there's Woody Harrelson, who is angry because we find out probably about a third into the film that he has cancer. And he is the most rational person in the film, and he is the weather vane and the sounding board, so that when you hear these views of these other people, he's the one who's saying, well, it's not, because at first you think, well, maybe there's corruption or something, they didn't try to find the murderer. And Woody Harrelson takes you through, we really tried, it is just one of those things, because of the burning, because of everything, there's no DNA, etc., etc. Or there is DNA, but we can't match it. So what this film then plays with is, if you have anger of that type, it sets up a conundrum about what is the way that you go after justice and whether it tips into revenge. And this is where I have a huge problem with this film, because by the end of the film, Dixon, who has been portrayed as this dim-witted, racist cop who it's basically said that he's tortured a colored person in Missouri, in the South, but then also that you see a scene later on in the film where he really just uses an incredible amount of violence on a person who is just tangentially linked to out of just frustration and probably an allegiance to the police. The problem is that as the film goes on, his arc flips so that you are supposed to, I think, McDonough wants you to have some sort of sympathy for that character by the end, because he starts to help the mother try to find this murderer. And I just don't think he does enough to allow us to have that kind of empathy towards this character. He is an out and out disgusting person. And if it wasn't for the charisma of Sam Rockwell and the way that he's portrayed and the way that he eventually comes out to the mother who obviously all our sympathy lies with Frances McDormand's character. You could film 38 films with that character in it, and that character you would be hoping gets killed or locked up or whatever by the end of it. So I had a real problem. I just don't think his redemption is earned whatsoever. The other thing which happens is towards the end of the film, they think that they've found the killer of the film, and in this really kind of hokey way, and luckily it isn't. So Martin McDonagh is playing with that trope, so I get that. But what happens is the two of them hatch this plan where they now have identified a rapist, they think. It mightn't have been the rapist of her daughter, but they know that there's this bad guy. And the end of the film is they're going to go and, if not hurt, maybe kill that person with no proof, no sense of the justice system, out and out revenge. Now they do only because, again, McDormand and Sam Rockwell are so charismatic and they've got great dialogue. So they're playing a few black laughs towards the end and you're not quite sure whether they'll go through with it. What they're doing is absolutely morally reprehensible and has shifted into complete vigilantism of the stupidest and morally reprehensible type. And the way that the film plays it is that this is a victory for them and that this odd couple are going to go around America and just kill horrible men. The message really is, I think, quite horrible and not ethical, and I have a real problem with this film. The problem is, it's such a charismatic film. The laughs are genuinely great. Performances are done well. McDonagh's directed well within that kind of very two-hander kind of way in which character, but, because of the great dialogue, it works. Yet the film is saying some really horrible things, and as such, I can't really rate it that highly. It's almost one of these weird things. Everyone should go see it, but and make up your own mind. But yeah, I think there are major problems with it, and be interesting to see if it gets called out for this over the time from the Golden Globes to the Oscars. So that's it for today. I'd love to, anyone who's seen it, I'd love to hear your point of view. Convince me I'm wrong, because I really did enjoy the film in a lot of ways, but as you just heard, yeah, there's some problems with this structure. So please, if you've seen it, let me know. If you like what I'm saying, there's different type of film reviews. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll always know. And I'm going to have tons of stuff coming up. And I'm on Twitter at Guru Eden. So I look forward to talking to you later. Okay, bye.